Lance Hall here for Let's Discuss with Lance Hall. Happy to welcome Mike Cross, MC Rhodes, to the program today. How you doing, Mike?
Hey, Lance, thanks for having me on.
Absolutely a pleasure to talk to you. And researching, you have a long and varied, rich history that I'm excited to talk to you about. But
I don't
first,
feel that rich, but yeah, okay.
rich in experiences and everything,
There
So
we go. Yep.
you know.
Yeah.
Uh, but first, let's talk about these songs you got coming out as part of an EP that's going to be coming out on Golden Robot Records. The EP is called No Nostalgia. Is there a release date yet for that?
So that's going to be due out later in the fall, sometime like mid-September area. So that's what we're looking at right now. We're looking at dates in mid-September.
Cool. You've released a couple of singles. Call It What You Want came out first, and then just the other day you released Smile Like a Knife. A couple of great songs. Smile Like a Knife, kind of, that's a cruising with the top down kind of song vibe that I got from it.
Cool.
Um,
Well, thank you, Lance.
and the other thing, and again, as I tell artists, this is just my own thing as I'm listening to songs. To me, that sounded really like if you took Hootie and the Blowfish and pumped them up on steroids, with the melody and the vocal and everything. That's where I went with it. I thought it was great.
Cool. Well, thank you very much.
Can you tell us a little bit about that one?
So, that song is very, that's a personal song, and, you know, obviously Smile Like a Knife. I mean, the chorus is Smile Like a Knife in my back. I felt it bleeding.
Yeah.
so, so it's a relationship type song, uh, kind of realizing that your friend isn't your friend, you know,
Mm, yeah.
and what you go through. I suppose everybody, has gone through something similar, but in a nutshell, the song is about betrayal. So
Yeah. Cool. And then the first track was Call It What You Want. To me, that's a great blend of like the 90s alt sound with 70s Southern rock. And to me, what did it on that tune was that female harmony you got in there. It gave it that real Southern rock kind of vibe to me,
yeah,
you know? Um,
she's
kill,
singing "Pour the Dirt on Me."
yeah. A
Yeah,
great delivery on vocal from you along with the harmony. Killer guitar solo. I love the riff underneath, with the solo and everything.
yeah.
Understand that was originally going to be called Shallow Grave, but you thought that was a little dark.
Yeah, probably a little bit morbid. All of the tapes were labeled, on the early demos of it were labeled Shallow Grave. I just like, I'm just going to call it that because it's kind of like a story, it's like two people burying each other more or less. So that was the analogy. I think that's the right word
Yeah.
for those two people in the story. But I felt, once I got closer to releasing it, I was like, I don't know that that's a real good title. And then that being my opening track with my solo project, and that's what this
Yeah.
is I was like, hey, call it what you want, but it's MC Rhodes. So and it kind of fit with the title, fit as the opening tune. Everything kind of fell together like that. So.
Excellent. I understand the project was sort of inspired. You watched the Searching for Sugar Man documentary, kind of got you kickstarted a little bit.
I think it was a couple different things. We were down with COVID, right?
Right.
And I had these songs, and the original idea was, I'm going to put a band together. I'm not going to try and go, I'm just going to take it step by step. And
Hmm.
I put this band together, and they're like, these songs are awesome, and I'm like, okay, so now I'm going to release it myself, because you can
Hmm.
do those things now.
Right.
And so I'm started looking at the enormous task of releasing it myself. And I know artists do it all the time, but to release it in the right way. And wouldn't you know it, I get a call, from Australia one night that just kind of changed the direction of things.
Hmm.
Mark Alexander Gerber called me personally after he heard a demo tape, and I mean, he convinced me. He was passionate about the music, so we started working towards releasing it with Golden Robot. So
Nice. I understand you also wanted two guitars in this project, and that's where Bobby G came in.
Yeah, so I've always been, I mean, even in my early bands, in the bars and stuff like that, I grew up on the Aerosmith sound, the MC5,
Yeah,
and that double guitar type thing,
mm,
always I liked it, and back when Needle On, Needle Off, Toys in
right.
the Attic, early Aerosmith, and I would learn, and I always thought it was cool. Well, who's playing that solo? Is that Brad or Joe? You know?
Right.
And so, and even Sponge, that was a lot of what we worked on between Joey and I, was how do we get these guitars sounding like a real, symphony kind of thing and the twangy thing. But with this, I really, you hit it on the head. I really kind of went back to my roots with the Southern guitar, the Lynyrd Skynyrd style
Yeah.
guitars, and that's the guitar tones. And the modern twist is how it's mixed and the arrangement of it and all that stuff. But I always liked the sound of two guitars, so
Yeah.
that's to me it was more interesting. The frenetic energy is there. There's a lot of great one guitar player bands too,
Hmm.
but I always liked it, so that's how I pulled Bobby in there. So.
Yeah. Speaking of the Southern rock thing, I got to ask you, have you been, because these guys are, well, they're not a new band anymore. They've been around for a while, but what a throwback band. Have you been turned on to Blackberry Smoke?
I've seen them, a couple streams of them. I quite enjoy it. I
Yeah.
thought the songs were, pretty well done. I think they are definitely. Well, I don't know. Yeah, you mentioned throwback. I mean, it reminds me of like an actual Leonard's, kind of
Yeah.
Leonard Skinner style Southern band. So.
Yeah. You also, when you decided to go forward with this project, I understand you decided you didn't, one of the reasons I should say why you went forward with this is you didn't want to just be a guitar player in another band. You really wanted to call your own shots. You wanted to write, you wanted to sing, you wanted to do it all. And in doing that, you sort of had to find your singing voice as well, correct?
Yeah, so that's just I guess experience of heartbreaking.
Mm, yeah.
Seeing projects I was involved with kind of lose their way,
Hmm.
um, and you know, I decided, well, hey, if I'm going to go do this, and I had some offers, when I kind of got away from Sponge. I did have some offers to play guitar here, do this, and I was just like, you know what? If I'm gonna do this, because it's a commitment and it's a lot of work, and
Mm,
I want to make sure. And the most important thing for me was to make sure my creative vision, as far as the songwriting, the songs end up the way I want them to sound.
hmm.
Um, and I couldn't think of anybody better to do that than myself.
Sure.
so that's kind of where it started, and it probably took me longer than I thought it would, but I wanted to come up with a style that works with my guitar style, and I feel like I'm kind of like a storyteller type singer,
Yeah.
and so it all kind of came together with this stuff. So.
That's cool. And the other thing, speaking of storyteller type, you mentioned that, the further you get into this EP, the songs get a little deeper, the music's, a little darker stuff, and the storyteller
Yeah,
part of you comes to the front,
yeah,
which I'm anxious to hear. I'm really anxious to hear that. It's going to be cool.
yeah. So you got the Les Pauls and you got the Strats, right? With
Hmm.
Call It What You Want,
Yeah.
but then comes and Smile Like a Night, pretty much.
Yeah.
But then comes Gretsch style guitars, acoustic, some of the things that where I'm influenced most vocally. Singer songwriter style. So
Yeah.
those kind of top in there later in the EP, which makes a kind of nice piece of work. So.
Yeah. Had you done much singing prior? How difficult was it for you to find your voice there?
It just started to sound like when I went into the studio, it just started to sound like something. I think I was originally just wanting to put demos together as a songwriter, right?
Right.
And, not pay somebody to come and sing them.
Right.
And then I was like, well, I'm just going to sing this my own way. And, since then, I've gotten much better at doing, but I was really looking to just come up with when you hear a certain singer, whether it's, Chris Isaac or, and I'm not comparing myself, but I'm just saying you can tell who it is. That's
Right.
what I was looking for, like an identification.
Sure.
Not so much to, go compare myself to some of the, obviously there's some singers out there that are just crazy,
Mm.
in terms of range and things like that. But I wanted something that is identifiable, that works with my music. And I think it works.
Yeah, definitely. Did I read correctly too? You usually do music first, then lyrics?
Yeah, so it's usually kind of like a guitar riff. Lately, though, interestingly, Lance, and I think it's just my focus switched from guitar to vocals.
Mm.
Now it's like starting to come like vocal melodies are coming,
Yeah.
to
Cool.
whereas before it was like be sitting with a guitar, like when I was in Sponge. Like Have You Seen Mary, for example, that was, kind of like a Jimi Hendrix style, Keith Richards style riff. That became the whole song.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm.
But now, as I'm more focused as a vocalist, I find myself like humming things. I
Mm.
wake up in the middle of the night, and of course, the old iPhone, and then the memo
Sure.
goes that, gets down, and that's kind of how it's been taking shape like that lately.
Yeah.
So.
So, Mike, do you consider yourself still more of a guitar player who sings or a singer who plays guitar now?
Yeah, so I guess where I'm really coming from is from a storyteller.
Mm.
Um, I spend I think the lyrics to me with the words are probably the hardest thing for me to come up with, but it's also the most exciting because when I feel the music fits the melody, fits the words,
Mm.
it doesn't always happen like that. But with this group of songs, it certainly did.
Mm.
So I probably consider it, to answer your question with one word, storyteller, or that's
Yeah.
two words.
Yeah. 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 Still, yeah. Great. Excellent. You kind of went back, same studio as Rotting Pinata and recorded this on 2-inch master, eh?
Yeah, so that was early on stuff, and then
Mm.
some of the beds were done, but as things transform, we get into the digital world. I mean, I had a lot of backlog stuff,
Mm.
and to develop them, of course, you got to have them, put in the digital world and things like that. But I always liked the sound and 2-inch tape, and
Yeah.
I know there's producers out there that say, hey, I can get the same thing with with this plugin or whatever or this Pro Tools. From a guitar standpoint, I like that natural sounding, that tape thing. So.
Now with Call It What You Want, you pretty much played everything. I think the only thing you had was Rick on bass on that tune, and you played everything
Well,
else?
we had a drummer. We had I brought in another guitar player on a couple of this stuff once in a while to do some second tracks and things like that. But pretty much the thing is the whole EP is me playing guitar, me singing, and actually Rick Latta, who is my current bass player, played on all five songs.
Okay.
But he's the only one in the band that played on it. So.
Are you putting a band together to take this out on the road, obviously?
Yeah, yeah. So that's MC Rhodes is these people, they play these songs with passion, and
Yeah.
they we're working through new material now, which is nice.
Mhm.
So as opposed to me just going and recording and bringing this guy in and this guy in or this girl or whatever, I get a chance to work through these songs with a band.
Cool.
And that's been a great experience because they put in their own spin. They get a lot of direction from me, but it really starting to sound nice. So.
Who do you have playing with you now? Can you tell us who they are and a little bit of a synopsis how you came up with getting them in the band?
So sure. So Bobby G is the other guitar player, and I actually met him in Facebook Marketplace. He was selling a piece of music equipment, right?
Mm.
And I'm like, I go over his house. I'm like, okay, so he wants this much, and I'm sure I can probably talk him down a little bit, and
Yeah.
and we go over there. He's like, well, no, I don't think I could come down that, but I'd be happy to, help you carry it and put it in your car. So he
Yeah.
was like so nice,
Yeah.
and um, So then we started talking, and I play guitar. You play guitar? Yeah, I play guitar. Well, I got a little band. He's like, oh, okay. Well, I could use some help. So he sent me a tape, and I don't know. 3 months later, I ended up listening to it. I'm like, well, this guy can play, you know.
Yeah.
So I called him up, and I was like, hey, I could use some help. Rick, as I told you, Rick Lotta is the bass player on the EP. So
Sure.
I've been involved with him for a while, and Bobby had a friend named Duro Poor, who just a wonderful drummer. So we brought him into the fold, and then the youngest person is KK Schofield. She's the background singer, and
Nice.
she never really sang professionally before.
Wow.
So it's been a pretty cool thing. We got like a little bit of mix of like the pros and people that haven't been out playing, so it keeps it kind of exciting. So
Yeah, yeah, nice contrast there with
yeah,
everything.
yes,
I read an interview back in your Sponge days. You said, you can put out the songs and get them played, either, hopefully get them on the radio or on back then MTV or whatever.
yeah,
But the key was to have a great live show. That's where,
yeah,
the whole rubber meets the road type thing.
yeah, yeah.
What can we expect from a live show from MC Rhodes?
So, it's not going to be anything like Sponge, but these songs get rearranged, so to speak, to play live,
Mm,
and we got new material in the set now, some takes on a couple covers. And you hit it on the head, Lance. That's really what we've been focusing on, other than, promoting after getting everything mixed on the EP and mastered and all that stuff, is really been focusing on the bringing the new material into the fold and the live show.
yeah,
And it's probably going to be more of a, I would say, uh, I guess the best way, we're trying to bring a quality show.
yeah,
It's not like, like this big giant rock kiss kind of thing.
yeah.
But, there are some things story wise that we kind of want to bring forth in during the set. So,
Very cool. Yeah, nice solid show.
yeah.
Speaking of Kiss, I got to ask about this. Sponge opened up for them opening night of the tour there in Tiger Stadium, and I read that was the last concert in Tiger Stadium.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
can you give me, maybe first memory that pops into your head, or coolest memory of the whole experience, or something like that?
Well, I mean, that kind of came about as a fluke. I know they had another band scheduled, and we happened to be managed by the same manager, Susan Silver, who also managed Alice in Chains.
Mm,
Okay.
okay.
And so we got just an opportunity of a lifetime,
Yeah,
and just, the sad thing is Lane's, the last time I actually saw him, perform live. So
yeah,
that was sad. But in terms of the historical event, Kiss coming back or to the, Tiger Stadium, and it was just an amazing, amazing time. So,
yeah. I read you started playing like in the fifth grade, and then as a teenager, you were giving up to 70 lessons a week
well, yeah,
guitar.
later in teenage, I mean,
Yeah,
the kids would come over, I figured out that, well, like if I played that, if I learned how to play that, then I could teach some other kid how to play that and make a few
yeah,
bucks.
yeah,
So that kind of went on to my early adulthood, to where I was, working at a music studio, guitar place, and I made a living, literally, teaching 70, or so private lessons a week.
yeah,
And that I kind of went into the recording and the bands and stuff like that. So they gave me the perfect schedule. I'd start
yeah.
teaching at 12 in the afternoon, so I could, sleep off whatever,
Right.
from being out all night, and not have to show up at work at 8:30 in the morning. So
Yeah. Cool. Uh, I'll ask maybe a potentially stupid question here, but since I don't play, I don't know this. I would think giving that many lessons would. How many times did you learn something yourself in giving a lesson? And it obviously must have tremendously improved your chops playing all the time. Correct?
that's a very smart question, actually.
Okay.
It's very spot on, to be honest with you.
Mm,
So because I learned more as a teacher, there's ways of learning, taking
yeah.
lessons, playing live, and of course all that's really good. But when you have to show somebody something, you actually have to know it you know, 2 or 3 times as good as you would as if you were just going to go play it yourself, you know?
Yeah.
And so people would bring in Eddie Van Halen and Randy Rhodes and, Jeff Beck and, yeah, I love all these guys, but I didn't spend time learning their stuff, because I was always a writer, so I was always kind of working on my own thing. And
Yeah.
so being, people saying, "Hey, I want to learn how to play, this Van Halen tune or this, Ozzy Osbourne tune or this Jeff Beck tune," it made me really kind of, it made me a better player,
Yeah.
and the theory side of things, being able to, teach people, "Hey, this is where these scales come from. It's, it's music theory," and
Yeah.
so
Very cool. Being up there in Detroit, such a rich history, with Seeger and Iggy and
yeah,
MC5, Kid Rock, Nugent, Glenn Fry came from Detroit.
yeah.
Motown. I got to ask you, you ever go down to 2648 West Grand and visit Motown?
I have not been down there. I've heard great things about it. I mean, we were kind of stuck in kind of not a shelter in place thing, but for the last year and a half has been rough getting around anywhere.
Yeah.
So my plan is to kind of go check that out. But yeah, I've always, I'm a big lover of the city. I'm always down there, whether at the ballpark or in some of the venues down there, and just a wonderful place to be. So.
I also understand you're involved in the Detroit Dog Rescue Program.
Well, I sincerely, the only thing I'm involved in, and because there are people that are involved, okay,
Yeah.
so they do a great job. So the only thing I want to do is get the word out about this wonderful organization. But as far as being involved, no,
Yeah.
just trying to do my part, saying, hey, these people are doing a great job, and they should be commended for. So it's totally all them. But
Nice.
I only thing I do is when I once in a while if somebody asks me, if I'm passionate about a charity, I always direct them to that because they're just doing amazing work. So
Excellent. Love the video you put up the other day of your two dogs sparring. My two do the exact same thing. So
it's a hockey game all day long.
all day long. Yeah. Want to direct everybody to the website, of course, www.mcrhodes.com. We've been talking with Mike Cross, MC Rhodes. The EP will be coming out in September. It's titled No Nostalgia. You can check out Smile Like a Knife and Call It What You Want on all the variable outlets that are out there right now. Mike, I always like to end up with sort of some fun, silly questions. I'm hoping these are maybe questions you've never been asked. Sound good?
Sure, Lance. How can I
Uh,
help you?
Favorite old school wrestler?
Oh man. Well, it's got to be Hulk Hogan, right? I mean,
Right?
that's
Yeah,
that's the thing that comes to mind for me. So,
sure, absolutely. If you could pick a television show to have one of your songs placed in, what show would you pick?
uh, man, that's got to be okay. Gilligan's Island.
All right, that's good. That'd be cool. Have you ever prank called someone?
You know, I hate to admit this, but back in the days, you get bored in the hotel rooms, and
Yeah.
so, that's what you do. You do prank calls. You call down to the front desk, and so yes, the answer is yes. And I was probably more part of watching prank calls. So,
All right, cool. Favorite cartoon character?
oh, gotta say, Yosemite Sam.
Okay. Favorite toy growing up as a child?
Oh boy, that's a good one. That's a good one. My mother swears that "la la" were the first two words on my mouth, so I would say my early phonographs.
All right, cool. Speaking of your mom, if you could go back in time and eat one of your mom's home cooked meals from your youth, what would you have her fix?
My mother makes the best spaghetti in the world. I'm just, I don't know what it is, but she just like had this, and I'm not, we're, it's not like it's a heritage thing with us or anything like that. She just had a great recipe for it. So
Cool. Last music other than your own you listen to?
last. I've been listening to a lot of the Golden Robot artists,
Yeah.
believe it or not. They got some pretty cool bands,
Yeah.
coming up. So,
Great.
So I've been basically trying to get to know the bands, where I fit on the label, that kind of stuff. And there's some great stuff.
Yeah.
And the best place to find us actually is at Golden Robots. That because that kind of gets us to all our places. So it's at Golden Robot, and then _ MC Rhodes.
Excellent. Last one. This is the one we have the most fun with. If they were to make a biopic of your life, what actor would you pick to play you? And it's your movie, your life. You can pick anybody.
Oh my goodness. Hmm. That one stumped me. So I'm gonna say uh, Joe Perry and Nick Nolte.
All right. Excellent. Just to get us back into music, if a youngster came up to you and said, Mr. Cross, I really want to get involved in music. I want to play guitars. I want to play drums. I want to be in a band, stuff like this. What advice would you give them to start out with?
So I think the thing is you got to get to a place to where you have your own thing. No matter what you got to do, you got to be able to control your own thing. And I don't mean don't go play in a band and be this head case that nobody wants to play with, but I just mean the faster you can get to writing and creating your own music, the better it is. The better for it is.
Excellent advice. Mike, has there been anything I haven't asked you about, something you wanted to talk about that we didn't touch on? The floor is yours.
No, I just wanted to get the word out again about we're happy to be on Golden Robot Records. They've been wonderful. They've supported us. They're very artist friendly, so I wanted to make sure I got that out, and shout out to the rest of their artists on the label because they're really doing some great things with music. So
Excellent. Been chatting with Mike Cross here today for Let's Discuss with Lance Hall. MC Rhodes is the band, the project. EP coming out. It's called No Nostalgia. Be out in September, and check out those singles. Do we have another single maybe coming out, or are you waiting for the EP to drop now?
no, we will. There will be another single. So so this is our second single, and there'll be one following this one. So
Excellent.
stay tuned.
All right. Mike, thank you very much for your time today. I appreciate it.
Lance, really my pleasure. This has been very enjoyable. Great questions too. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
You too, buddy.
Bye-bye.